Hi, my name is Bruce Kowal. I'm a certified public accountant. My license is from the great state of Texas. I live here in the Northeast, and my practice is nationwide. I'm glad you dropped by. I want to talk to you about something very important in your life, which is putting some control in it, getting the IRS problem under control. Now, this seminar is for realtors and troubled taxpayers. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about taking control and protecting your assets. And let me give you an example. A couple of years ago, my wife noticed in our house that we had a leak in the kitchen. And, being a man, I said, big deal, put a pail under it. So we did that. And, after a couple of months, that one leak turned to several leaks. And pretty soon we had 3 pails collecting water in the kitchen when it rained. And we would look at each other every time the forecast said rain, and we'd be terrified, wondering how bad it was going to be, the leak. So, and my wife kept reminding me every day. So I finally, I looked on the ceiling and I could see all the structural rot that was occurring, and I was worried about the whole ceiling collapsing. So I had to bite the bullet, and I hired a roofer. It cost me well over $10,000. I got a loan from a bank for it, and we put the problem under control. And now we can sleep, and now we have a payment plan, and we can go on with our life. And that's pretty much what happens with the IRS. It's like a leaky roof. It's not going to go away. It's just going to get worse. We want to resolve it, which means we want to get control of it so it doesn't control you, come up with a plan, and then you can go on and enjoy your life. And that's what this is all about. So let's look at what's holding you back. Why are you here? So let's ask yourself a couple of questions. Like, what is the most important to you about resolving your IRS problem? And why is this important to you? What is the cost of not having this problem with the IRS out of your life? And very importantly, if you could wave a magic wand and have the entire IRS issue resolved and out of your life, what would that look like? And if you did get the IRS matter resolved, what would that mean to you? Lastly, what are the stumbling blocks that have been preventing you from handling this problem? So, how do we get here? How does a successful real estate person, and you're all successful because you owe the IRS money, so you must have been making money, you must be very good in your profession, you must be great salesmen, and you're screwing up with the IRS. So there's 2 words. Commission check. You're not getting a salary. They're not withholding the money. They just give you one big amount, and that money goes very, very quick. It goes into the bank account, and you're always short on cash. And there's always needs for your spouse and your family or your toys or whatever. And who's really thinking about sending 1/3 of that check to the IRS and 1/3 to the state where you live? So what happened was that obviously you're not making estimated tax payments. And that's why you're in this condition. So you succeeded in your career, but you failed to pay taxes on time, and that's why you and I are becoming friends today. So that discipline that you show in closing sales, you're not going into managing your taxes. Taxes are going to take 30% of your income. You need to pay attention. January, April, June, and September. You can do it. I know you can. So what we're talking about is a transformation. We're going to put all these tax problems in the past. We're going to look forward. And here's the deal. I will help you quickly put your current tax problems behind you and set you on a track going forward. And how's that going to happen? We're going to resolve the tax debt, and we're going to put a limit on this, so much amount of money each month that you can live with. And as soon as you and I partner to resolve this, you're going to start making your estimated tax payments quarterly. I'm going to be sticking around for you. So this big word, tax resolution, and you hear it on the airwaves all the time. What is it? What it really is just solutions. They're solutions to open-ended tax payments. Open-ended. You have no control over it. It's consuming your life. We want to put our arms around it. So what's one of the tax resolutions? Pay the IRS in installments. Simple. Based upon your ability to pay. Keep that in mind. They're not going to make you pay if you can't pay it. What else are we going to do? Well, another choice is you can permanently cancel your tax debt. Yeah, that sounds too good to be true. That's called an offer in compromise. And the last thing we can do, the third type of resolution, we can stop collection for about 2 years. We're going to postpone the reckoning. So we see now that there are 3 steps in tax resolution, and there are 3 types of resolution. Okay, now we're going to talk about the 3 steps to get there. So the 3 types of resolution: installment payment, we had an offer in compromise, and we had stop collection. And now we're going to talk about how do you actually get there? How can I help you get there? Well, number 1, you're going to appoint a CPA to represent you before the IRS. And then we're going to review your tax returns for the statute of limitations, for errors and omissions. And then we're going to choose the best strategy. So, appointing a representative. What this does is it gets you out of the line of fire. We don't want you answering the phone calls, talking with the IRS, doing anything to make you uncomfortable. So this is called a power of attorney. You've probably heard that expression before. So why is this important? And what are the effects? And how does this relieve you of stress? When you appoint a representative, as a power of attorney, I can now get transcripts of your IRS account. I can look at all the wage and income data reported to the IRS. Maybe there are errors in reporting. Maybe someone sent you a 1099 that was wrong. We can change that. We can amend the return. We can look for penalties so we can get those penalties abated if they're favorable to you. So appointing a representative, what's going to happen is that all contact with the IRS is going to be by telephone. No one's going to be meeting them face to face. That's over with now. You don't have to worry about that. And all the information, and the reason is the information we exchange with the IRS has to be consistent. If you make up a story that you had a flood and that flood wiped out all your records for the past 5 years, that has to be consistent. We can't change that. We have to live by that story. Another thing that's going to happen, as soon as you appoint me, I'm going to make a phone call, and I'm going to stop all collection on your account for 30 days. Statute of limitations. We're going to review your tax returns, the ones that the IRS is looking at, for statutes of limitation. This is your silent friend, and this is very big. So what is that? The IRS has 10 years to collect a debt. That's it, 10 years, and 10 years from when you file the return. So how does this help you? Well, it's simple. Let's say the IRS has only 5 years remaining to collect. You get in touch with me 5 years into the statute, so they're out of your life in 5 years. They can't harass you anymore, and the amount you pay is going to be limited by that, and I'll show you that later. Okay, so you feel better? They can only collect a monthly amount that is based upon your ability to pay. So the worst case situation, we do an installment agreement, and it's only for 5 years, if that's the remaining life on the statute. And they can only take based on your ability to pay. And my job is to show them how poor you are and you have no money to pay. The other thing we're going to look at errors and omissions and also penalty abatement. Maybe you left out some expenses in your original returns. Or maybe the income is over-reported. And we're going to seek to get rid of the penalties. Some penalties I can get rid of with a phone call, right off the bat. Other penalties I need an explanation. We call that reasonable cause. Interest, however, can never be abated. I can't get rid of that. Only an offer in compromise can get rid of interest. Okay, so where are we now? The 3 steps we need to take: you're going to appoint a CPA to represent you before the IRS. And the goal here is to protect your assets. Your assets are exposed right now. They can be seized. They can be garnished. All kinds of bad things can happen. They can go into your garage and take your toys. We're going to review all your tax returns for statute of limitations, for errors and omissions. And then we're going to choose the best strategy. Which one to take? Installment agreement, offer in compromise, or maybe just what they call not collectible, just leave you alone for a couple of years. So, the 3 steps to tax resolution: appoint the CPA, review the returns, choose the best strategy. Okay, so there are 3 steps in tax resolution, and we want to keep it simple. As we said, you pay the IRS in installments based upon your ability to pay, or you can permanently cancel your tax debt. That's an offer in compromise, or we can stop collection for 2 years or so. Okay, we've talked about this. Now let's go into a little detail. What is an installment agreement? And why is it so wonderful? And I think it's great. Well, what it does is it puts in place 2 limits. Number one, it limits the amount you're going to pay the IRS each month. And that's a lot, because right now you have no idea. And it also puts a limit to the date those payments will stop. If you have 5 years left on your statute of limitations, we know that this will end in 5 years. So our job is to knock down that monthly payment. 5 years, it's over. You can sleep. You have it under control. Another thing that's going to happen, once we get an installment agreement, we're going to stop collection. And we're going to prevent the filing of a notice of federal tax lien. You don't want a notice of federal tax lien. So we're going to try and prevent them from filing that. It's not always guaranteed, but if it'll affect your business and prevent you from earning money, we can get it done. So these are very, very big things that the installment agreement does. Because right now you have something that's open and it's unmeasurable. But within limits, you can see an end. So this is one kind of tax resolution. Let me give you a quick case study here. The installment agreement, it's sometimes the quickest solution. I had a client, he's a New York City real estate broker. He owed $75,000 to the IRS for tax, penalty, and interest for 3 tax years. And the IRS threatened to garnish his commission checks. And they notified his brokerage company. And that's when he called me. And I took him as a client. I got him a signed power of attorney. And that same day, I called IRS Collections, and we got a 30-day hold on all collection activities. And that reprieve gave us time to request an installment agreement. And when it was granted, the IRS said, you know what? You got to pay $20,000 monthly for 38 months. Client was happy. He had a big closing soon, and he would pay off all that entire debt. He just needed some peace of mind from the small monthly payments. So what did we do? We put limits on his risk. We had a monthly amount and an end in sight. He immediately got his life back, and he got back on track by paying estimated taxes. You bet. The second solution, this is the pot of gold. This is the offer and compromise. In this one, the IRS permanently cancels your tax debt. Not all of it. Maybe 80% of it, 50%, maybe 90%, but they permanently cancel it. But it's enough to really matter. And that's all debt, including interest and penalties. This is the pot of gold. Are you feeling lucky? Only 1/3 of offers are accepted. Those are the facts. A lot of people, they have too many assets. So who qualifies? Well, not to make a joke out of it, but if you get no assets and no income prospects, you'll get your offer and compromise. And the other solution, the third one, the IRS calls this currently not collectible, or CNC. What happens here is that you are so broke, they're not even going to try. No installment agreement, no offer and compromise. They just tell you, we'll see you in 2 years and we'll get an update on your income and your assets. But interest and penalty do not go away. But the statute of limitations keeps ticking. You get closer to the end. Okay, now we got to choose a strategy. Okay, we have installment agreement, offer and compromise, and currently not collectible. So, how do we choose a strategy? The installment agreement, stop collection, and it limits. The offer and compromise, most of your tax goes away, and you pay some tax. And then currently not collectible. Okay, let me give you an example. A real life case study to show this is not always that simple. I had a taxpayer, he owed the IRS a little over $500,000. That's breathtaking, isn't it? He was a chiropractor. He had 4 years remaining on the collection statute. I got him an installment agreement for $4,000 a month. Now that sounds like a lot, but he could afford it. And it was a good deal. The revenue officer could easily have required $8,000 likely monthly, but I made friends with the RO. He liked me. Okay, so $4,000 times 12 months is $48,000 a year, multiplied by 4 remaining years, that's $192,000. Now, that's less than $500,000, right? He saves $308,000. I thought it was a good deal, but he got greedy. He said he didn't want to pay any more tax. I don't want to pay any. I don't want the hassle. I think I got a good story here. The $192,000 is too high. I don't want to have to spend 4 years worried about paying this thing every month. He asked the IRS if they'll take $50,000 for a payment and settlement of the debt. Why? He didn't want to deal with the payments. He wanted a psychological end to this. I told him, I said, you got too many assets. He had 2 rental homes. And you earn too much money. They're not going to give it to you. He said to try anyway. Okay. He insisted, and he offered to pay my fees. Why would I turn him down? So the risk in an offer in compromise is that the statute of limitations, it stops counting. So for the time you're waiting for an answer for an offer in compromise, you're not getting any closer to the end. That's bad. An offer in compromise takes 12 months now. So it stretches it out. So it's 1 year, and then they add 3 months just at the end of it. So if it's rejected, the penalty and interest keep accruing, and the statute of limitations is extended. And you have to do a new installment agreement all over again, which might not be as favorable. And that's why tax resolution is an art. Another one, penalty abatement. Client owed $60,000. He didn't want the IRS to file a lien. And he didn't want to fill out a financial disclosure information. So we looked at the transcripts, and he owed about $20,000 for each year, 2019, 20, and 21. And for the prior years, 2018, 17, and 16, all the returns were filed and paid on time. So we called IRS. I called them collection. And I got a first-time penalty abatement, which can be done. That was a lot of money there. And I had the client pay money immediately to get his balance from $60,000 to $50,000. And once he was under $50,000, we could do a streamlined installment agreement. No installment payment, no federal tax lien, and he could pay that off over 72 months. Okay. So here we got 3 resolutions and 3 steps. I hope you're still following me now. And these are going to transform your life. So what were they? Well, we had 3 types of tax resolution. We had the installment agreement, offer in compromise, and currently not collectible. And then we had the 3 steps to get there. Power of attorney, I'm going to review your tax filings, and we're going to choose a strategy. That's it. So what are you waiting for? No more delay. This is urgent. That interest on your tax debt, it's IRS now, it's 7%. Some states like New York, it's 9.5%. You get penalties accruing. They can be as high as 25%. You are at risk constantly of wage and bank account garnishment. You need to protect your assets. I can protect your assets. And before the day is out, I will call the IRS and ask them to stop collection for at least 30 days. That's my promise. And that is the first step towards tax resolution and transforming your life. And so we'll go back again. If you could wave a magic wand and have your entire IRS issue resolved and out of your life, what would that look like? Give me a call now.